Hey everybody, what's it Fox Gaming here. So I've got a new build today for you all to try out if you want to hit solo heroic content or even challenging if that's where you're at the moment. I was inspired to make this build by my friend Chr0n D0n, who used to play the Division quite a lot in year one, but he's only just come back. His watch level is quite low, and he was sort of saying that a lot of the time when he had to run solo, he was having some difficulty in heroic missions just because he didn't have a well spec build. A lot of people when they run heroic, they'll either use a skill build, which he's not a fan of, or just a high DPS build, which obviously makes a lot of sense. The faster you can kill things, the less likely you are to die. But this build is designed if you just want to be able to go through content and get a lot of your health back pretty much with every kill that you do, and essentially just have great survivability in conjunction with great DPS as well. This build won't clear heroics solo quite as fast as a high DPS build or a skill build, but it's just incredibly safe, really easy to use, and actually pretty easy to put together as well. So thank you, Chr0n, for inspiring me to make this build. I did originally put one together a while ago, and it just didn't work very well. And he made some suggestions, namely using Eagle Bearer and a couple of blues on the build. When he put that together, he said it worked really well. So I've kind of emulated that, and I'd have to agree with him. I've chosen some different talents here and a couple of different pieces, but yeah, this is a good build. I really like it, and I've had a bit of fun with playing it. So this is essentially an armor on kill build, and there are a few ways that we are achieving that. What I'll do is I'll go from the top down, and I'll explain why I've made these choices, and then we'll go through a quick mission, and I'll show you exactly how it works. So one of the more important things to do is to run Gunner as your specialization. Now there are a few reasons why Gunner is really strong here. The most important is armor on kill. So killing enemies grants 10% armor. That's really good because that's kind of the whole point of this build. We also have a faster reload with Gunner, which is really good for just maintaining that DPS, and the armor kit is actually quite powerful. It's one of the best solo play armor kits in the game, as it gives us 30% bonus armor for 10 seconds. We have ammo regen. Because this build is utilising the Eagle Bearer AR, you can blow through your ammo quite quickly, particularly as it's not a full red high critical hit chance build, so just having that 10% of your ammo come back every 60 seconds is also really powerful. And another nice bonus, as this is going to be a cover based build, at least my version is the 10% weapon handling whilst you're in cover, or essentially when you're stationary for a second. That works really well as well. So you want to try and get in 2 pieces of system corruption. 2 pieces gives you 15% armor on kill, so just with that and Gunner we're already at 25% of our armor back for every single kill. You can get system corruption from the Dark Zone and from PvP caches. You can also craft it as well, at least some of the pieces. So if you just play Conflict or Dark Zone and you open those caches, there's a chance that you'll get this out. What I've done with these 2 is I've re-rolled them to weapon damage and critical hit chance, as you can see here. And the same for the armor. Same for the holster. You want to run 3-piece Badger Tough. 1 piece gives you 10% shotgun damage, 2 is 5% total armor, which is really nice, and the third and final is the 10% armor on kill. These will need to be, 2 out of these 3 pieces will need to be your chest and your backpack, because you're going to need to get your talents on here, and system corruption won't give you that option. These are the 2 pieces that I decided to leave as blue. The rest of the build is red, so I've got 2 blue, 4 red as my core attributes. Badger Tough automatically rolls a blue, so with your chest and backpack, as you need to get the talent right as well, it's just one less thing to have to worry about re-rolling. This piece has critical hit damage and headshot damage, and my backpack has critical hit chance and critical hit damage, so that's kind of what you're looking for there, ideally chance and damage. The third piece is my knees. Now this could be a system corruption here, and you could have Badger Tough as either your holster or your mask. Just farm what you can and craft what you can. These are actually crafted, as you can see in the bottom right there. And all I was looking for here is critical hit damage and chance. This is a pretty low roll, but it still works well with this build. But you do need to roll your third Badger Tough into red as the core attribute, so that's what I've done here. The final piece is the Death Grips. These are a named 511 gloves that you can only get from PvP. So you'd need to play Dark Zone for these, or you can again get them from PvP caches, or from named item caches from the Season Pass. There are a few ways to get these. Unfortunately, these roll as status effects, and as you need to be re-rolling these to red, ideally if you can get a pair of these with critical hit chance, critical hit damage, headshot damage, or weapon handling, any of those 4 things will be better than the status effects that I got here. So these aren't particularly well rolled, but it's not the end of the world. This build still works really well. Where I've sort of differed from Chr0n's suggestion, I think he sort of did a bit of research on YouTube. He decided to go with Bloodsucker on the back and Intimidate on the chest, and that's kind of the more popular choice, and I'll show you why that is. if you go to the station, so if you go for Bloodsucker, killing an enemy adds and refreshes a stack of 10% bonus armor for 10 seconds, and the max stacks is 10, so you can have 100% bonus armor if you keep killing, and that's really strong just for survivability, and particularly strong if you combine it with Intimidate, which gives you 35% multiplicative weapon damage to all enemies within 10 meters whilst you have that bonus armor. So not only are you getting the raw survivability from Bloodsucker, but you're also getting a lot of extra damage from Intimidate. So that's the most popular choice and a very, very good option. You could use exactly the same pieces that I've used, but you just want to be using these two talents if you prefer it. I decided not to go for this. I wanted to put my own flavour on this build, and I don't like the idea of being within 10 meters. You know, this build is mostly aimed at people with low watch levels who are generally sort of hitting solo content, and you know, being out that close to enemies, yes, with a shield is quite viable, but it's still quite dangerous. So I decided to go down a different route. Another good choice on your chest is Unbreakable, and there is actually a named Badger Tough chest, which we have a Badger Tough chest anyway, the 0Fs, that gives you perfect Unbreakable. You get 100% of your armor back every 55 seconds if your armor is entirely broken. That can be farmed in the light zone or dark zone, so that's really easy to get a hold of that. I thought it was only the dark zone, but I did a bit of research online and apparently it does come from light zone as well, so yeah, that is a really good option to run there as well. I don't think there's any other talent that I would particularly run there apart from what I've chosen. And if you went for Unbreakable on the chest, you could just run any damage talent on the backpack. I like running with solo builds one survivability talent and one damage talent. So my choices for talents here are a little bit niche. They're quite unusual. I decided to go for Composure on the back, very similar to my Pestilence PvE solo build. While in cover, increases total weapon damage by 15%. In my personal opinion, being in cover is a lot stronger than being out in the open and utilising Intimidate. Yes, it's a little bit slower to get your kills because you're getting less weapon damage, but we have 4 reds on this build. We have plenty of weapon damage, so, you know, Composure is still a nice little weapon damage buff. The reason we've gone for an in-cover option, apart from the fact that being in cover is just safer in solo content, is we're going with Entrench. Now, I don't see anybody using this talent because for the most part it isn't very good. But the problem, or a potential problem with an armor on kill build, is you need to be getting kills to get your armor back, and sometimes you're just going to be very low health. As we're in cover, Entrench gives us 20% armor back every 3 seconds as long as we are below 30% just for landing a headshot. So if you're low armor, instead of using an armor kit, or if you've run out of armor kits, Entrench will just give you 20% back straight away. You can then go on to continue that kill and then get a load of your armor back from all of the combination of pieces that we have here. If you go over to our stats, you'll see that my critical hit chance is at 57.5% and my critical hit damage is at 91%, just from rolling the system corruption and making sure the other pieces had critical hit chance. Because we're using Eagle Bearer, the headshot damage is 94.7%, so that's higher than you know, a lot of other ARs, unless you obviously spec into headshot damage. And you know, Chr0n's suggestion to use Eagle Bearer with this build is really good, and I'll explain why that is in a second. Our armor on kill is 438,000. Now, on our build, we've already got 1.1 million, so you're getting about 40% of your armor just from getting a single kill. So within a couple of kills, you're going to be nearly full already. And if Entrench is procced in there, you'll literally be at full armor just from 2 kills from practically 0, which is really strong. So you can just focus on the squishier enemies. The reason that Chr0n recommended Eagle Bearer is because it gives us some very useful talents to sort of be more tanky in a solo heroic mission, because of course the biggest problem there is everything focuses you and it is easy to die. So headshot kills with the Eagle Bearer give us the Tenacity buff for 15 seconds. Now it starts at 40%, but the strength of Tenacity is increased by 1% for body shots and 5% for headshots. It can cap out at 80%. So if you look at the bottom part here, Tenacity, 40 to 80% of damage taken is delayed until the buff expires. So once you've got that headshot kill and you've got a bit of armor back, anywhere between 40 to 80% of any future incoming damage in the next 15 seconds, you're simply not going to take until the talent runs out. You can actually negate all of that entirely simply by getting 3 kills. So all of the total delay damage is reduced for each enemy killed while the buff is active, up to 100% with 3 kills. So if you can get 1, 2 or 3 kills whilst Tenacity is active, all of that extra damage you're taking that's being reduced, instead of it all just hitting you right at the end, will be removed entirely. Another effective way to deal with this, if you simply don't have any enemies to kill, you can actually swap off of Eagle Bearer. You will lose the Tenacity buff, which means you won't have that damage reduction. So this is why you want to do this from cover, which again plays quite nicely into the Entrench Composure cover build. But it also removes that big burst damage at the end. So if you've got your Tenacity buff procced and there's a big heavy that's really wailing on you, and you know you're not going to kill him to stop all of that incoming damage that you're probably going to be taking from him firing grenades at you, just go back into cover, swap out to your other weapon, and then you won't get that big spike damage at the end. So that's quite an effective little way of playing Eagle Bearer there. A good secondary weapon would be a shotgun, purely because you are using Badger Tough, and we don't have any Fenris or anything on here to buff our Eagle Bearer, so make sure you spec into the 15% assault rifle damage on the gunner specialization tree. You can get a shotgun with preservation, just if anybody rushes you. If you don't have the Eagle Bearer, not a problem, it's not needed with this build. It makes it better, don't get me wrong, and that's why I've included it as per Chr0n's suggestion. You could just use a preservation AR as well, or an SMG if you prefer. Preservation gives you 10% of your armor back over 5 seconds for a kill, and if you manage to get a headshot kill with it, it's actually 20%, so that's really nice. There is a named P90 SMG, the Emmeline's Guard, that can be obtained from the Light Zone, that gives you a bigger buff on that as well, the perfect preservation option. So Eagle Bearer is my top choice. If not, just get a preservation AR and a preservation shotgun. The skills that you want to consider using, the Res Hive is 100% necessity with this build because it just stops you dying once every 200. Wait, what's the cooldown on this again? 163 seconds, there we go. So every sort of couple of minutes or so, you could just get that free death, so to speak, where you don't have to worry about wiping. Second skill, use whatever you want. If you are quite a low watch level, I'd probably encourage that you go for the Chr0n because it gives you a constant heal. I decided to go for the Pulse here. No real reason, but for me, when I do solo heroic content, I always turn on the no armor kits, unless you get specialization ammo for your weapon, and no radar. The armor kits aren't too necessary with this build, so that's some extra XP from the directive, which is nice for getting your watch level up. And because I use no radar, the pulse is actually quite powerful. You also get the gunner mods to run with it as well, so I've got the 15% radius and the 15% effect duration just to buff it. But use the Chr0n if you want to be extra safe. So that's the build there. Let's quickly demonstrate exactly how this works, and then I'll load into a mission. So what we're going to do here is we're going to show preservation and, excuse me, not preservation, we're going to show Entrench and of course the armor regen. So if you look at my armor there, when I get this one shot, there you go, 20% straight back. And look how much armor I've just got on there. One more kill, up to full, just like that. So I'm full armor just from getting one headshot to proc Entrench and 2 kills. You can see I'm glowing red now, so that's a Tenacity buff active. If I was taking loads of damage here, I could have just stayed in cover, swapped off to my other weapon, and I won't get that big spike damage unless I'm confident I can clear a few more kills. If I was to die from that, I've got my Res Hive anyway. So you definitely got a few sort of choices here with your talents, but I definitely think you want to be looking at the 511 gloves, the 3-piece Badger Tough and the system corruption, and then just run the talents that you are most comfortable with. This is just sort of the What's It Fox Gaming variant of that build. Let's load into a mission. We'll test this out. We'll try and go for a relatively quick one here, so we'll go for American History Museum. I won't go through the entire mission. Just want to sort of demonstrate it in the first few rooms of the mission, just to show you all how this works and why I think this is a really good option for solo play. It's not even that difficult to farm for. Yes, a few of the pieces are kind of PvP exclusive, so you need to be hitting up the Dark Zone. But that's not the end of the world. Okay, we've got it on heroic, as you can see there.
And notes from months of prisoner interrogations. The information
Let's see how we get on.
is stored on a military-grade laptop in the main holding area downstairs.
Try and take a bit of damage from this guy. So I'm taking a lot less damage because Eagle Bearer is procced, and because I've got the oh, someone just joined me. Because I've got the two-piece armor here. Let's let that get quite low.
Serious trauma detected.
Oh, so that's what happens with Eagle Bearer. If you take too much damage like that and you don't get a kill, it will kill you because all of the damage then comes back at the end. So you want to be swapping off there. So loads of armor back straight away from that. Now I've got Tenacity active again, so I can afford to be able to cover a little bit more. The extra kill there. There we go. If that runs out, I might take a bit of chunk damage. No, because I've got the 3 kills. just going to actually remove my my clan member from this game. I should have put myself to private, really. Just because this is a solo mission. I'll message him afterwards. Let him know what I'm doing. See, I don't want to be doing this with another person. This build doesn't work in group play very well at all, because if other people get your kills, it kind of, you're not getting any of your armor back. Wow, my accuracy is really bad. I do apologise. You can even run this build with concussion. As long as you've got that damage, 1 damage talent and 1 survivability talent, then it works really well. And because we're in cover a lot of the time as well, which I think is the best way to play solo, yes, it's a bit slower, you won't clear through missions as quickly, it's safe, and that's the whole point of this build. It is designed just to be safe, clear heroic content at your own pace. You know, you're not under pressure from a whole team of people that are rushing through it and you want to stop and look at your loot and so on. This is just you in your own mission, doing your own thing, clearing it with relative ease, because of course this weapon has pretty high damage, but also staying alive at the same time. So I'm not actually taking that many shots here because I am in cover. And if you do want to run around, you know, if you don't want to rely too much on Entrench, you could just run a shield as your secondary, and that, again, that's the beauty of this build. There's just so much flexibility with it. The gear talents, or should I say the gear brand sets, are probably the most important, but use whatever weapon you want. So say you can use a preservation AR, if you're not even fussed about that, if you've tried this build a few times and you find that you're not taking much damage at all, just go for more of a DPS based weapon, something that just hits a bit harder with Optimist or In Sync, for example.
What was that? Cover that side. I'll search over.
And now we're taking a bit of damage here. Oh, we're not quite below 30% yet. There we go, that was Entrench proccing there, and it procs every 30 seconds. Health is straight back up. Done this guy. So yeah, I'm not having difficulty killing these enemies at all, and that's not just because I've got all of this health coming back to me, this armour. Just this build does actually hit pretty hard. Gonna peek his head now to repair that, hopefully. There it is. Ooh, bad move. So yeah, I like this build. You know, Entrench is, I don't even want to say underrated, because I will be honest, for the most part it isn't a very good talent. There are many sort of other talents that you could run there in its place, but as you all know, I do like to create a bit of build diversity and you know, test out talents that I think could work in certain situations. Actually, this is going to be a good test here, because the heavy is always a good test in solo play. These are the things that will wipe you. So if he hits me with a grenade, I'm going to take a lot of damage here. Okay, now I've not got much health left. Let's get Entrench on the go. There we go. So that's already some of my armour back. Keep popping shots into him. If he gets me low again. Just sort of play in between the grenades. Go for those headshots. And Entrench actually procs twice there. And look how much of my health I've got back from that. So because I was super low there, I'd lost all of my armour. Entrench procs twice, and I ended up getting 40%. As long as you are below 30%, it will give you 20% back. So you could be at 29% of your armour, and you'd end up going to 49%. I took a lot of damage there, so what I'm going to do is switch off of Eagle Bearer. Oh, I didn't even get the talent procced anyway.
I'll get behind you.
So there's the Entrench kicking in again. Oh, that's a bad thing. And this is what you want. That is what you want the res hive for. So we need to try and get a quick headshot here and so on. Get the Entrench going. There it is. Go for kill. Look how much armor's come back. Already I'm in a safe place. There you go, up to full. 2 kills and I'm up to full. Just got to peek his head. Let's get this guy out of the picture first. Then we can focus on the heavy again. So I'm just going to try and go for headshots here, because Eagle Bearer already comes with headshot damage in. Make sure I duck into cover when he fires his grenade. And honestly, these guys are the ones that will mess up the solo plays, so as you can see, this counters them very well, below 30%. Let's get the headshot, straight back up. Keep going. We just blew himself up. Switch my armor here, straight back up. And if they were still taking damage here, I could have just swapped off of Eagle Bearer just so that I don't get that big spike damage. So, we won't go any further in the mission. That was a good demonstration there. We had 2 heavies and that was solo play, and as you can see I killed those with relative ease. Even the times that I did get low, if I didn't quite get that headshot off to proc Entrench, I still had my res hive to fall back on. I've still got 4 armor kits to fall back on with a 30% bonus from Gunner, and again that would work quite nice with the Intimidate Bloodsucker version of this build. But the reason I didn't go for those is I feel that 10 seconds isn't always long enough you know, to keep that bonus armor. And yes, Intimidate is fantastic with that build, it wasn't safe enough for me, and I just wanted this build to be not the fastest, but just a reliable, safe way to get through heroic content with a couple of directives turned on, farm your loot at your own pace without the pressure from a group, or not having a good build and, you know, being worried about matchmaking and everybody's just performing a lot better because you are newer to the game. This is just for you to run it at your own pace. So we'll leave the video there. You know, I hope that the build is suitable for at least a few of you. I appreciate that, you know, some of you that watch my channel do have very well optimized builds, and this might not be the best for you, but you know, all of my builds have a place in at least one person's loadout, and if even one person uses this and it works well, then that's all I'm really looking for. Thank you very much for sticking through to the end of the video and for the continued support of the channel, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace!